එදිනෙදා ඔබේ මුළු සිරුරටම රැකවරණයක්. සුදේශී කොඹ සබන්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50 අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, more gains. Sri Lanka's impressive COVID-19 recovery rate jumps further. Another lockdown. The entire country comes under curfew with bars and taverns closed tomorrow. Heavy deluge. Adverse weather wreaks havoc, claiming 2 lives. Weathering the storm. CEO of South Asia Gateway Terminals believes Sri Lanka's ports and shipping industry doesn't need handouts.
At this point in time, I don't think the ports and shipping industry here need any handouts now. The port industry has already given a huge amount of relief to importers.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 16th of May, 2020.
69 SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamke Kanai. Let's start with your local stories. Now, the number of new COVID-19 cases detected in Sri Lanka continues to come down, with the recovery rate also increasing to its highest level to date. 43 patients have recovered within the last cycle, boosting the recovery rate to 54%. What's more, none of the infections reported across the last 16 days have come from communities except for the clusters which emerged as a result of the virus spread at the Valisara Naval Base.
With the identification of more COVID-19 cases, the overall number of coronavirus patients in the country rose to 949. However, from that figure, only 420 are active cases. With 43 more people returning to their regular lives after making full recoveries, Sri Lanka's COVID-19 recovery percentage was boosted to its highest level to date at 54.7%. All in all, 520 patients have recovered from the virus so far. Sri Lanka has only 9 deaths owing to COVID-19, and most of the victims suffered from underlying health conditions. Currently, active COVID-19 cases in the country only amount to 44% of the total number of infections, and it is noteworthy that the mortality rate in the country due to the virus stands less than 1%. To date, a total of 497 naval personnel have been infected with COVID-19, and with the recovery of 20 more sailors today, the tally of recovered naval personnel rose to 177. As of 8 p.m. today, a total of 629 cases of coronavirus infections have been identified since the first Navy sailor was diagnosed with the virus on the 22nd of April. He had contracted COVID-19 during operations to round up people suspected to have come into contact with confirmed COVID-19 patients in the area of Suduvella in Jayala. Among the 629 cases are 534 naval personnel and their associates. Over the past 24 days, barring the clusters which emerged due to the virus spread among naval personnel at the Valisara base, only 93 infected persons have been found. They have emerged from quarantine facilities and during field tests. Meanwhile, among the 10 patients detected yesterday, 9 are naval personnel and the other is a close associate of a seaman. No COVID-19 infected persons have been detected from communities during the past 16 days, except for the clusters which emerged due to the virus spread at the Valisara base. This speaks volumes about the COVID-19 response operation conducted by the government. Daily PCR tests are being conducted on identified groups which are at risk of contracting the virus. Accordingly, biosamples were obtained from residents of Bandaranaike Mawatha in Keselwatta, which was reopened after being placed under isolation.
Now, after having an extended period of both state and private sectors functioning, the entire country returned to a complete lockdown tonight at 8 p.m. The countrywide curfew, however, will be lifted at 5 a.m. on Monday, the 18th of May, while bars and taverns will also be closed tomorrow. In the meantime, the head of Traffic Police, DIG AdaDerana, urges public and private sector employees who will return to work on Monday to adhere to curfew regulations just as they did this week.
Excluding the districts of Colombo and Gampaha, 23 districts in the country will undergo lockdown from 8 p.m. tonight until 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th. Private and public sector employees will resume work as usual from Monday onwards.
විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ ඇදිරි නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වූ කාලය තුල පුද්ගලයන් 55,000ක් පමණ අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන තිබෙනවා. ඇදිරි නීති කඩකිරීම, නිරෝධායන රෙගුලාසි වලට පටහැනිව කටයුතු කිරීම සහ ව්‍යාජ ලෙස ඇදිරි නීති බලපත් භාවිතා කිරීම පිළිබඳව විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ අත්අඩංගුවටගත් පිරිසෙන් මේ වන විට 12,000කට පමණ නඩු පවරා තිබෙනවා. එයින් 5,400ක් පමණ මේ වන විටත් වැරදිකරුවන් වී තිබෙනවා. ඔවුන්ගෙන් සමහරෙකුට දඩ නියම කර තිබෙනවා. තවත් සමහරෙකුට සිරදඬුවම් නියම කර තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තවත් පුද්ගලයින්ට දඩ සහ සිරදඬුවම් යන දෙකම අධිකරණ මගින් නිකුත් කර තිබෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ COVID-19 වදුර ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ව්‍යාප්ත වීම ආරම්භ වූ දා සිට විශේෂ ක්‍රියාමාර්ග රැසක් ගත්තා. ඒ අතර එක් ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් තමයි පනවන ලද ඇදිරි නීතිය. ඒ ඇදිරි නීතිය පැනවීම නිසා අපිට හැකියාවක් ලැබුණා අපේ රට කොවිඩ් ආසාදිතයින්ගේ මට්ටමින් පහළට ගෙනීමට. ඉතින් එය ඇදිරි නීතිය පැනවීම විශාල පිටුහලක් වුණා. ඒ නිසා නිරන්තරයෙන්ම ඒ ගැන අපි අවධානයෙන් ඉන්නවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම සතියන්ත ඉරිදා දිනේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව පුරාම කිසිවෙකුට ගමන් කිරීමට හැකියාවක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ අනුව එදින විශේෂ මෙහෙයුම් ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය තුල සහ ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය තුල නිරන්තරයෙන් ඇදිරි නීතිය පවතින නිසා ඒ ප්‍රදේශවල අඛණ්ඩව මෙහෙයුම් සිදු කරනු ලබනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම නැවත ලබන සතියේත් සඳුදායින් පසු සුපුරුදු පරිදි කොළඹ සහ ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කවල ඒ ආකාරයට මේ ඇදිරි නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා කාර්යාලවලට පැමිණෙන අය, කාර්යාලවලින් පිටව යන අය, ඒ වගේම කාර්යාලවල කළමනාකරුවන්, ඊට අදාළ පාලකයින් මේ සියලු දෙනාම මේ පසුගිය සතියේ තම කාර්යාලවල කටයුතු කළ ආකාරයටම නිරෝධායන රීතීන් වලට අනුගත වෙමින් කටයුතු කළ යුතුයි.
With work set to resume on Monday the 18th, Department of Railways stated that a total of 11,500 persons have made bookings so far. Accordingly, the number of journeys to Colombo have been increased to 19.
ඒ 19 මුදුබඩ දුම්රිය මාර්ගය, ප්‍රධාන දුම්රිය මාර්ගය, උත්තලන් දුම්රිය මාර්ගය, උතුරු මාර්ගය හා කැලණිවැන්න දුම්රිය මාර්ගය යන සියලු මාර්ග ආවරණය වන පරිදි සකස් කර තිබෙනවා. මෙසේ දුම්රිය වෙන් නොකරන ලද මගින් සඳහා අපි අවස්ථාවක් ලබා දී තිබෙනවා. එනම් ඔහුගේ රාජකාරී හැඳුනුම්පත තමාගේ ආයතනයෙන් ලබා දී ඇති ඊමේල් පණිවිඩයක්, ලිපියක් හෝ SMS පණිවිඩයක් තිබේ නම් ඒ බැව් අදාළ දුම්රිය ස්ථානයේ දුම්රිය ස්ථානාධිපතිතුමා වෙත ඉදිරිපත් කර අවශ්‍ය අවසරය ලබාගෙන දුම්රිය ගමන් කිරීම සඳහා මේ අවස්ථාව ලැබෙන්නේ දුම්රිය ආසන හිස්ස පවතිනම් පමණි. පැමිණෙන මගින්ට අපි ටෝකන් එකක් දෙනවා. ඒ දවස් පාට වර්ණ 5කින් යුත් ටෝකන් ලබා දෙන්නේ. ඒ ටෝකන් වලින් ඒ දවසේ ආපසු ගමන් කිරීම සඳහා මේ ටෝකන් පත්‍රය අනිවාර්යෙන් ළඟ තබා ගත යුතුයි.
In the meantime, the Kalutara Police Division took steps to facilitate transport for 400 persons who were stranded in Kalutara with the onset of curfew. In a separate development, senior citizens in the area of Hatton were inconvenienced today as the post office in the locality was closed, leaving them unable to collect their senior citizens' allowance. Some of the beneficiaries who were present had attempted to collect their allowance yesterday as well, but without success. An official at the post office said that its closure is a decision made by the administration. In the meantime, the Department of Motor Traffic has announced that they will resume work on the 20th of May. The Department of Motor Traffic will serve the people from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. during the day, while the general public are requested to make prior appointments to obtain the services of the department. The department added that one-day services will not be provided until further notice.
2 charter flights carrying stranded Sri Lankan expats in Japan and Myanmar landed in the country today. They were airlifted under the program or repatriation program launched by the government to bring back Sri Lankans stranded overseas with the onset of COVID-19 combat measures.
A group of Sri Lankans stranded in Japan without means of returning home due to travel restrictions and airport closures were repatriated today. Charter flight UL455 of Sri Lankan Airlines returned to the Derana International Airport with 235 Sri Lankan expats aboard around 3:38 this morning. Among the passengers, however, were also some Japanese nationals. The repatriated Sri Lankans and their luggages were decontaminated by Air Force personnel at the airport premises. They were subsequently directed to quarantine centres to be put through the mandatory process. In the meantime, another group of Sri Lankans stuck in Myanmar due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic were brought back to the island at around noon today. A flight chartered by Myanmar Airways International touched down at the BIA with 74 Sri Lankans aboard. These passengers were decontaminated upon arrival and they too were moved to quarantine centres following a medical checkup. Meanwhile, we received reports of another group of Sri Lankans stranded at Malahini Kudabandos in the Maldives, a resort which is being used as a quarantine facility.
Now, adverse weather conditions in the country have claimed the lives of 2 people so far. The Department of Meteorology states that the island-wide rains will continue further. What's more, the National Building Research Organisation issued landslide warnings to 9 districts and stated that people should be vigilant over pre-landslide signs and must move to safe zones.
According to the special advisory issued by the Department of Meteorology, which is valid until 3 a.m. tomorrow, the prevailing showery condition in the southwestern part of the country will continue further, where heavy rainfalls above 200 millimeters are expected. Showers or thunder showers along with heavy rainfalls above 100 millimeters are also expected in the provinces of Eastern, Uva and North Central. During the past 24 hours, the area of Galigamua in the Kegol district recorded the highest rainfall with 212 millimeters of downpour. In the meantime, a person was swept away by the currents due to the increasing water level in the Kuda Oya as a result of the heavy rainfall in Kegol district. Our correspondent stated that the 47-year-old faced this tragedy despite the army and the police special task force attempting to save him. 2 personnel of the STF were also swept away during the rescue operation and they were admitted to the district hospital of Polgahavela. Elsewhere, a 77-year-old woman died after a mound of earth fell on her residence. Her body was recovered this afternoon with the help of the army and the residents of the neighborhood. 3 other persons had also stayed at the residence during the unfortunate incident. However, no other casualties are reported. Meanwhile, a lorry parked near the Udukumura road in Varkapula had toppled down a precipice as a result of heavy rains. With the hill country coming under heavy deluge, a rockfall had destroyed a house in the area of Diagala in Vatavala. However, there were no casualties. In the meantime, a 4-year-old boy was admitted to hospital last evening after lightning struck his residence in the Singha Udagama village in Manampitia of the Mulagala East. Furthermore, strong gusts of wind that flew across the new village in the area of Valikanda of Polonarwa damaged 21 houses. With the onset on adverse heavy falls, numerous residences have experienced power outages. The Ceylon Electricity Board said that power supply for 44,000 people in the districts of Gampaha, Ratnapura, Mathura, Nuwara, Anuradhapura and Trincomalee have been interrupted due to heavy rains. It also stated that power restoration processes are underway. In the meantime, the National Building Research Organisation issued landslide warnings to the districts of Gaul, Mathale, Ratnapura, Kalutara, Mathura, Colombo, Kegol, Kurunagala and Kandy. Furthermore, they also stressed on the importance on paying attention to pre-landslide signs. Development of cracks on the ground, deepened cracks, ground subsidence, slanting of trees, electrical posts, fences and telephone posts, cracks on the floors and walls of buildings which are built on slopes are possible. Sudden appearance of springs, emergence of muddy water, blockage or disappearance of existing springs can also occur. If such developments are witnessed, people are urged to move away immediately from the relevant area. Furthermore, people living in landslide-susceptible areas should be extra vigilant and should be ready to move quickly to safe places if heavy rain continues.
In Kegol district, there were affected people been recorded so far 1,805. 9 houses fully damaged and 385 houses partial damage due to the bad weather situation since yesterday morning. So Disaster Management Center has taken actions to initiate a plan since few weeks back with all the health authorities and all other technical agencies and district secretaries and all other officials to combat COVID-19 and along with the natural disaster management plan. So that is in action now. So people are requested have to be very vigilant because they need to know where to go. We are monitoring the situation with the technical agencies continuously, and we are alerting the communities as needed. All the health aspect has to be taken by the communities, and all will be notified by our officials. The 117 call center number is combating with the COVID-19 problem since months time, and that number already been open for all other disaster management activities, especially the natural disaster situations as well. In 3 languages, people can access via 117 call center number.
The Department of Irrigation, meanwhile, also stated that the water level of the rivers Kalani, Kalu and Gin have also increased significantly. According to the special weather forecast issued with regard to the seas and surrounding areas of the island by the Department of Meteorology, the low-pressure zone over the southeast Bay of Bengal and the surrounding neighbourhood is likely to develop into a depression over the same region and further intensify into a cyclonic storm over South Bay of Bengal today. It is very likely to move northwestwards. Fishing and naval communities are requested to be attentive regarding future forecasts issued in this regard.
We will see you shortly after this break. Don't go away.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that the higher education system should be designed in such a way that would enable graduates to find employment opportunities fast when they enter the labour market upon completion of their university education. The head of state made these remarks during a meeting with vice-chancellors of universities and the chairman of the University Grants Commission at the Presidential Secretariat.
During the meeting with representatives of the tertiary education sector, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had insisted that regardless of the definitions given to university education, if young people graduating from universities are unable to find jobs, there must be something intrinsically wrong with the system. He pointed out that there should be an education system that makes job opportunities run after graduates, instead of them staging demonstrations demanding employment. The head of state had also stressed that the universities and the schools should reopen only in accordance with recommendations of the health authorities, adding that the present context must be utilized to further expand the already introduced distance learning system. Furthermore, he has said that at least 30% of the university student population should be attracted towards online education. Recalling that thousands of students studying overseas were to be flown back in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, the president added that such a large number of students seeking higher education abroad is counterproductive in many aspects, including huge outflows of foreign exchange. He has therefore called for a diversification of the country's university education, adding that it is essential to introduce degree courses covering areas such as modern technologies including information technology, nursing, teaching and tourism. He has also highlighted the possibility of assembling low-cost computers targeting university students. In response to a question raised by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa about the university intake this year, Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Sampath Amaratunga, has said that 7,500 additional students will be enrolled for tertiary education this time.
Chief Executive Officer of the South Asia Gateway Terminals, Romesh David, believes that Sri Lanka's port and shipping industry does not require any government handouts as the world is attempting to come out of the economic slump brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking to Indivu Yamwat on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, David instead requested the government to work on the policy framework to make business easier in the aftermath of the global pandemic.
What is the outlook for ports and the shipping industry in Sri Lanka?
Ports have continued working non-stop. That in itself was an achievement because we were possibly the only port in South Asia to have uninterrupted operations. So all 3 terminals worked non-stop. We had no shortages. Of course, we had to take a lot of precautions in terms of the health and safety of our people. We also had to make sure that they were properly compensated for that additionally. It was a big achievement in terms of continuous working because the port operates for 24 hours.
Has the shipping industry had to evaluate how it carries out its operations, especially you're heavy on the paperwork?
that's one of the great positives that has come up. Sri Lanka as a country, we've been struggling with our competitiveness in terms of our ease of doing business ranking, primarily around the complications and the paper-based transactions at the border, customs, clearances, and so on. The current port minister actually mandated that certain elements of the clearance process need to be done electronically. So after trying to do this for the last 25 years, in the last 1 week, since the 4th of May, we have begun now as an industry to clear cargo in a paperless environment. It's quite rudimentary, but it is a great start and something that certainly we want to hold on to as a trade going forward, because it makes a huge difference to our competitiveness.
Let's talk a little about the imports and exports. Yes, imports restricted, but exports, we're talking about diversifying, that Sri Lanka missed the opportunities to diversify well in advance to face these challenges. What do you think about that now?
I think we are going to feel the pain of being sort of a single source export in terms of our sheer volume, other than for the traditional exports of tea and now garments. We have very little diversity in that basket. So again, this is like a burning platform. I think our exporters and the country, we have to look for other forms of export. That's critical. I think the seeming shift away from China is going to help us. Sri Lanka has an opportunity again. We are, like you said earlier, slap bang in the middle. We are best located in the South Asian region. We have excellent political relationships as well as connectivity with all our other South Asian neighbors. So we become really a doorway to South Asia. And that in turn, we have the advantage of Hambantota. There's a fantastic port there, a free zone there. So I think we have a whole array of opportunities ahead of us. How do we make it easier for shipping lines to choose Sri Lanka as a preference over Singapore or over Salalah or over a Red Sea port or over Malaysia? Because they have options. Our ports depend on transshipment business and they can choose to go wherever they want. For Sri Lanka, as a trade, from a trade perspective, we have a lot of good things that are happening, but we really have to take stock and move away from or add to the traditional export basket.
Especially for the export industry, how can we look at new ways to engage?
I think if we take, again, going back to China, there is a conscious shift by companies in the US, companies in Japan, because of the risk that everyone found out. If so much of the supply chain is reliant on China and production in China, that it actually had the ability to disrupt supply chains and the movement of goods and services well outside the Chinese borders. So there is going to be a conscious effort to move to diversify that supply chain and that source.
Has the industry seen assurances by the Sri Lankan government?
Government has announced that they have a 50 billion rupee package. They probably need 500 billion rupees in order to restart the various different economies. At this point in time, I don't think the ports and shipping industry here need any handouts now. The port industry has already, at the request of the government, given a huge amount of relief to importers over 30 days, because storage on the port is the most expensive storage in the world. We've already waived almost 40 days of storage, facilitating importers. What I think the government can do is make sure that from a policy perspective, they get things, they do things and make things easier for business. So let's really concentrate on the automation, on the electronic documentation, on doing away with the bottlenecks and the paper. That is where government can help facilitate.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Sri Lanka's trade deficit had widened in February this year compared to February 2019 as expenditure on imports increased at a faster pace than the increase in earnings from exports.
The central bank says that the deficit in the trade account widened in February to $574 million from $451 million in February 2019. It, however, adds that on a month-on-month basis, the trade deficit in February 2020 recorded a contraction. On a cumulative basis, the trade deficit widened to $1,304 million during the first 2 months of 2020 compared to $1,069 million in the corresponding period of 2019. The tourism industry, which recovered faster than expected in the aftermath of the Easter Sunday attacks, was affected again with the outbreak of COVID-19, evolving as a pandemic from late February in 2020. Workers' remittances recorded a year-on-year growth, while foreign investment in the government securities market and the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded net outflows in the month. The central bank says that the Sri Lankan rupee, which remained relatively stable up to the second week of March 2020, depreciated significantly in the latter part of March up to mid-April, but started to stabilize thereafter and recorded a significant appreciation in the first week of May. It notes that significant implications on the external sector performance are expected from the COVID-19 pandemic from March 2020 onwards, particularly in the areas of merchandise trade, tourism, workers' remittances and foreign investment.
Now, in other news, Sri Lanka's tea prices at Colombo tea auction had risen sharply during the first quarter of this year, whilst Sri Lanka's tea production had declined by nearly 30% quarter over quarter for the same period. This is mentioned in a report released by a subsidiary of Moody's Investors Service, ICRA Sri Lanka. It says that the rise in tea prices was largely attributable to the global supply shock from unfavourable weather conditions in most black tea exporting nations. The report says that in April, the Colombo auction prices rose sharply as global tea supply continued to tumble due to labour deployment issues as a result of COVID-19 pandemic and adverse weather. Weaker local currency, demand induced by the perceived health benefits of black tea and higher tea consumption amidst lockdown have also helped the Ceylon tea prices to stay buoyant for the said period. It adds that current higher prices have to a large extent compensated for the impact of financial performance of tea producers from the lower production levels. The Asian Development Bank says that the global economy could suffer between $5.8 trillion and $8.8 trillion in losses, equivalent to 6.4% to 9.7% of global GDP as a result of the novel coronavirus disease pandemic. A new report by the ADB says that the updated assessment of the potential economic impact of COVID-19 finds that economic loss in Asia and the Pacific could range from $1.7 trillion under a short containment scenario of 3 months to $2.5 trillion under a long containment scenario of 6 months, with the region accounting for about 30% of the overall decline in global output. It says China could suffer losses between $1.1 trillion and $1.6 trillion. The new analysis updates findings presented in Asia Development Outlook 2020, published on the 3rd of April, which estimated COVID-19's global cost to range from $2 trillion to $4.1 trillion. The report says that sustained efforts from governments focused on coronavirus response measures could soften COVID-19's economic impact by as much as 30% to 40%, and that it could reduce global economic losses due to the pandemic to between $4.1 trillion and $5.4 trillion. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.